This meeting of the Midtown Redevelopment Board is called to order. We will have our roll call.
Ms. Hurd? Here. Mr. Barker?
Present.
Ms. Ford? Here.
Here.
Dr. Jameson? Here. Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Present.
Mr. Schwartz?
Here.
Chairman Tully?
Present. At this time, we'll be led in our invocation by Mr. Miller and Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Ross.
Most gracious Father, we thank you for this opportunity to serve, Lord. We thank you for being our presence. You said when 2 or 3 gather in your name that you're in the midst. So, Father, we ask that you help us make the right decisions so that our city can grow and be the best city in this entire United States. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to address the board on any issues that's on the agenda, please fill out one of our green sheets that is found at the secretary's table so that we can have a record of it. And at this time, I'm going to ask if there are any corrections to the minutes. Anyone have any corrections? Then we'll entertain a motion to accept our minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of May 13, 2014,
Is there a
with
second?
necessary corrections, if any.
A second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. We will accept the minutes that were presented from,
May 3rd.
no, this is for June 10th.
Oh, June 10th. Okay.
Okay, we'll amend the,
Amend it, please.
okay. So we have a motion to accept the minutes from June 10th, 2014, with any necessary corrections. Are you ready for the question?
Question?
All those in favor, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and the minutes stand approved. We want to thank Captain Blanchett for coming out. At this time, we're down at our police department report, the ComStat report, and there were some questions from last month. That's the reason we asked you to come, to try to help address a couple of those issues. All right. All right, sir. One of the, and if you could just mention your name for the record, please.
Captain Lance Blanchett, Daytona Beach Police Department.
Thank you, sir. One of the concerns, and I know that this would have to be addressed by more than just the police department, was concerns about the juvenile issues. Is there anything that can be done to get some programs in place?
The city's always trying to work on more programs for juveniles, especially through the summer months. As you well know, Idle Hands at Devil's Workshop. We're also trying to get churches involved in having some, to help the burden of having some programs for juveniles, things to do. There are some things planned during the summer. As you well know, Derby Ball Fields has some recreations going on. Football practice is about to start in August, but there is not enough. I can tell you that right now. There is not enough. There needs to be more. And with the city looking for outside help from specifically churches, because that is a great foundation for these juveniles. Any program the church sponsors or gets behind, we find that it's a great program for juveniles to try and keep them on the straight and narrow. So we are working on that. It's funny you mentioned the juveniles. We had a meeting today with all the players of juvenile law, justice system. And we sat down today and we talked about some of the issues that we're having with the juveniles. For those of you who don't know, there are currently 16 counted gangs, juvenile gangs here in the city of Daytona Beach. 16. That's a lot. City Boy gang, the City Girl gang, a couple of these that are popping up. The City Girl gang we had a big problem with at the Juneteenth Festival. They got out of control down there, a whole bunch of females fighting. And we know pretty much who the bad seeds are. And these are the kids that we want to try to get an intervention on through the juvenile justice system, through the other programs that are out there, to try to get them to get on the straight and narrow, to get them accountable for their own actions and things like this. Because if we can do that with the leadership of these gangs, and we can actually stop them from recruiting, stop them from bringing other kids down the wrong path, that is our goal. We met today, a very positive meeting. The people from the Department of Juvenile Justice, they are going to be coming along with ride-alongs with us starting next week during the nights. And these are people who know these juveniles even better than the police do because they work with them day in, day out. And they're the ones that can say, that one's not supposed to be out. His curfew is 6 p.m. That one's not supposed to be out. And this is what we're looking for. So we can remove the bad seed. Hopefully we'll see a decline in the number of gang members and also the number of juvenile-related crimes and incidences. Okay. So we did have that meeting today.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible that the names can be revealed, not openly here, but from some of us who might be interested?
I would be more than happy if you wanted to talk with me one-on-one to tell you who the main players are. See, juveniles have certain rights, especially because they are juveniles, that protect them. And just announcing a bunch of random names in open form, I'm sure, is not a good idea.
Right.
But if you want to call me one-on-one, I'd be more than happy to let you know, because I guarantee that people in this room, you're going to know some of these kids. Or you're going to know the family of these kids. You're going to know them. So I'd be more than happy to.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's not directly at you, but having leisure services here, because we are talking about youth prevention programs. I know I had a long conversation with the young man who is the director of leisure services in Orange County. He's from Daytona but lives over there now, and they are doing a whole lot of things with their youth. And I know their crime rate with youth is just as magnified as ours.
Right.
But they are doing a lot more programs that is being offered in their city that we need probably leisure services here as well, because they can't run the programs.
I agree.
Exactly.
I agree. There's another, this is kind of a spinoff on the juvenile problems that we're seeing. We've applied for a grant. What we want to do is, if we get this grant, we want to take over the school resource officers for all the schools in the city, in Daytona. That would be 6 schools, with Campbell and Torrey T sharing a resource officer. We want to take that over, because that would give our officers a chance to get to know all those kids and have direct access to us, the people that are going to be responding to the calls and things like that. It would bring us a lot closer together. Instead of having a different agency in the schools, it would be us. So we're hopefully, we've got our fingers crossed that we'll get that grant, and if we get that grant, it's going to be big for the city. So we're really hoping on that as well.
Okay. Mr. Miller.
Captain, thank you for coming to the meeting. We missed you the last couple of meetings, and we're really thrilled to see you here. And I'm very impressed with the comp. But back to the juvenile situation, you talked about the churches. Do you think if we had a Parks and Recreation Board that we could have programs that could help our children? Right now, all major cities I know of, and where are you from, sir? Did you grow up here?
Yes, I did, actually, Ormond Beach.
And Ormond Beach, you all have a Parks and Recreation Board there. Right. We don't have one here. And I'm convinced that because there is no parents' participation in coming up with programs for our children, and when there's time to cut budgets, it's easy to cut budgets when there is no representation. And I can remember a time when PAL was such a huge animal in this community, and we really had a lot of control over our children. What happened to the funding in that program?
You know, that's a very good question. I don't have the background to speak as to what happened to those funds that specifically went to PAL, where they went. I'm sorry, I don't have that answer for you right now. But on the other side, what you spoke of about having representation as far as a civilian board, I'll tell you what, parents are powerful people, especially when it comes to their kids, especially when they reach out to other community members, churches, and other groups that can help with the funding and help with programs. You know, I tell you what, we don't have one now, So getting one would certainly not hurt us. It can only help us. So I would support that 100%.
Captain, I really appreciate that. The other question I have for you is that what percentage of the crime that occur in our city is done by juveniles?
That's another good question. I can pull those statistics. It would take me some time, and I'd be more than happy to get back with you on those. I don't have them in front of me, but that's certainly something I can have our crime analysis research, and I can get you a definitive answer as to not only with the percentage of crime, but what crimes are being committed by juveniles. That's easy enough. I can get that for you.
The next question I have is, how many children do we have in the city of Daytona Beach? I know we have a population of almost 64,998 I saw today.
Right. Once again, these are all good questions, and I wish I had answers for you, but I can find that out as well. You know, we can search the Volusia County School Board based upon their records as to how many juveniles. Well, that would only give the ones that are actually in school. Now, believe it or not, we do actually have a homeless juvenile population here in Daytona Beach.
Yes.
We have a population that does not attend school, so these figures would be estimates, but I can get that as well.
Thank
I'm
you,
more than
sir.
happy to.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question also. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, Chair.
Yeah.
How you doing, Captain?
Good. How are you?
Good. I was wondering, is there anything that we can have as far as grants, as far as having the kids have a job? Because I know typically, when I was growing up, that I can remember, the kids that had jobs, they didn't get in too much trouble.
Right.
So if it was something that we can create where they can get money in their pockets, because they're looking at the videos, they're looking at all these things, so they want these, they trying to acquire these things, so they can't do it by just watching TV. So that's where the drug selling and the gangs and all those things come.
And I tell you, the board that this man is talking about right here, that could be another facet of that. Because if they're reaching out to these churches and reaching out to these community members, they can also, while they're there, say, hey, you know, we're interested in getting a program for jobs specifically for youth. And not only jobs, because we don't want to just put them in a job. We want to teach them something. We want to get them a job that they can build on and learn from and move up and move forward. We don't want them just to salt French fries at some place. That's going to go nowhere for them. We want to teach them a trade, teach them a skill, teach them something they can use, not just today, not just tomorrow, but for the rest of their life. And that board right there that this man's talking about could easily segue right into that type of thing as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fuqua.
Captain, speaking on behalf of the local churches, especially the ones here in the heart of the cities where we are dealing with the high crime area, dealing with the youth, what I find is that most of the churches don't have the funding to support the summer programs. Churches apply for grants, apply for those summer programs, but the money, it was a major shortfall for 2014. So, and I know the chief applied for some funding too, and he didn't get it. Same thing with these local churches.
Funding is the number one issue. Let's not beat around the bush. Funding tends to be the number one issue, and it's not just based on the economy, but our government has really tightened up the faucet on how much money they're releasing. A lot of the grants that we had, for those of you who remember, we had many grants specifically so we could go out and enforce juvenile crime and had programs where we could teach and things like that. That federal money is gone now from us. We don't have it, and it's not in our budget to keep that going. And I think that's part of the reason Powell went away. I'm not quite sure about that, but funding is the number one. And I like those challenges myself. I always like it when the chief says, we don't have the money for that. Okay. He calls me the horse trader because I've been able to pull off some amazing things. Like just 4 years ago, I got every police officer in the city of Daytona Beach a brand new firearm at zero cost to us. We're talking 550 some odd brand new firearms because a lot of ours were 20, 25 years old. We needed these things. So with some creative trading, I got every officer a brand new firearm. So I love these challenges. This challenge with the juvenile problems, with the juvenile, is big. And it's not something that I can take on all by myself, but I'd be more than willing to sit with you, pick your brain, get some ideas. Let's get some people together. Let's see where we can go with this thing. Right? Because right now we have what we're going to have. And in struggling economies and tough budgets, I believe firmly that there's more we can do as long as we get the right people involved and reach out to the community in certain ways. I think there's a lot more we can do.
Dr. Jameson, then we'll hear from Mr. Bryant.
for information, Leisure Services has a student employment program this summer. I don't know how many people they were able to. 30? Okay. So they have started. The second thing is we're talking about this a lot to the police officer, but we need to talk to Leisure Services about the problems that we're having with many things in terms of not only for children, but for seniors also in the community. And the third thing is I did a lot of grant writing and reading, and one of the things is if you have the police officers, the schools, and this church, and these things, and a whole bunch of people together, you're more than likely to get a grant if you have a whole bunch of people.
You're right.
But when individual churches apply for grants, they tend not to want to do that. They want to see a collection of people in the community. And most of the grants that I had to read, we looked at the number of people in the community and improved the one with the largest amount of people on the grants.
She is speaking exactly the truth. If you have a strong, diverse group going for a grant, they're more likely to get it than an individual.
So my question is, Chairman, is what could we do, not just say we here, but the city as a whole? I mean, even, I don't know, the city managers, the mayor, and everybody get together, put in these local churches, the police department, pull everybody together and come up with a big plan and apply for one of those big grants. And then when the funds come in, then put some in the local churches, some in the police department and leisure services, and split that money up. I mean, it was a great need. Either the federal government is going to pay for to save these kids before they get in trouble, or they're going to spend the money on them when they go to jail or go to a juvenile center.
Mr. Chairman, point of
Just a
clarification.
second. Mr. Bryant, then Ms. Ford, then we will address the question that Mr. Fuqua had, then we'll come to you, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to address what Dr. Jameson said, that Leisure Services did receive a grant. They were able to employ 30 kids within the age, I think, of 15 to 17 or 18. And they were low-income, qualified individuals, so they had their parents had to provide proof of income, and so these were some of the targeted kids in the community. And as a matter of fact, one of my neighbor kid got a job, so it is working, and they are within the city of Daytona Beach. We have some downstairs working in different departments and spread out in Leisure Services as well.
All right. Ms. Ford?
Just going back and agreeing with Mr. Ross, and I'm glad to hear that because I did not know, and I work in the school system, that the city was even offering a program like that. So I would want to know, how are you getting that word out? That's number one. I've never seen it, and I work district level, so I have not heard of that. And I work with some of the toughest kids in the school system, our most challenging student population. But my other question to that, we used to have a program called the CEDAR program that would employ hundreds of children over the summer and pay them, and not just, like you say, an arbitrary job. It actually taught them a skill and had a partnership with Daytona State, Bethune. They went and worked at various locations around the whole city of Daytona. And that's when I was growing up. I was not eligible to be a part of it, but I knew several people who were. And my other statement was, I hope, and I'm going to push that you get the grant to be able to patrol our local schools, because in the city of Edgewater, and they have been doing it for many years, and I have a close connection with their department, it is very effective because they know the students and they see them outside of school besides in school, and they are the ones that are the resource officers on the campuses.
We're hoping that happens. We're really hoping that happens.
Now, and I will come to you after we address what Mr. Fuqua brought up. What we need to do then is that someone with the board needs to get with Captain Blanchett and kind of coordinate with him to bring in some churches, some school district people, juvenile justice, everyone that we can get involved and work with him, and possibly even help with the grant writing process. I believe that that would make a major difference in Midtown. Now, I know that Dr. Jameson does have some skills in that because for some reason she's a reincarnation. She keeps talking about a past life. But we want, but we would like if you would be willing to help some of this, coordinating this, and with your expertise in that area, I think it would be very good.
Let's sit down. Let's all talk. Let's get leisure services there. Yeah. Let's get Miss Carla Kwan. She's a huge resource for us. Let's all of us get in one room and just spitball this thing and say, hey, what can we do? You know, and because let's think about this. It's not just about the money.
No.
If we can get people to donate their time, well, that's huge. If we can get people to donate their time, we've got plenty of facilities that we can use here, whether it be a basketball camp, whether it be a swimming camp, whether it be whatever. If we can have people to donate their time, zero cost to the city if people donate their time. Mm-hmm. You know, some of these programs, we might be able to get off the ground at zero cost.
That's true. Mr. Miller?
You say zero cost, but the city now have a policy about you pay to play.
Yep.
And they want to charge the kids to use the field. It's almost like me telling my children, you need to pay to play in the backyard. And we're talking about folks who making 26% below the poverty level. And we have a very unique situation. We have a community who's more interested in special events and bringing tourists here and entertaining them than taking care of our own. I think the Regional Chamber of Commerce, with over almost 2,000 members, can at least hire 500 of our children during the summertime or during the regular time. So that's one of the places we truly need to look at, because we help them make so much money from a city standpoint. Let's ask them to give a little to our children. And like I said, we don't even have a Little League baseball, a baseball program. We're the largest city here, and we got like 25 or 40 kids playing baseball and 14 playing t-ball in one of the largest cities in Volusia County. And again, we got to have a Parks and Recreation Board. If we don't have a Parks and Recreation Board, we're never going to get where we really need to get to. And the next point that I like to make is, you talked about being in the school system and hiring 8 additional police officers. Right now, 64.7% of our budget going to law enforcement. To add 8 more folks there to police the schools, you know, I thought it was Volusia County schools. Why can't we have the county to put those folks there?
Oh, they do it now. The county does it now.
Well, why would we want to?
Well, the grant is for 6 officers.
Right, but after that grant over a year, we're supposed to pick up the tab, right?
Right. It's a 3-year program where after the 3 years we would absorb them into us. Right.
Okay. Can we really afford that one, my friend?
Well, it's one of those things I tell myself: is the juice worth the squeeze? If we pay 6 additional officers to get them in our schools, dealing with our children, your children, that close one-on-one, where they had direct liaison to me and to our agency instead of going multi-agencies, I honestly believe that would pay for itself tenfold.
I think if we had the money for those 8 officers and put it in our Parks and Recreation and give the kids an alternative from having them be in a gang and put them on a team, will help a whole lot more than that.
Sure. You know, it's something that we can certainly explore and talk about.
But, sir, I want to thank you for coming anyhow.
Yes, okay.
Now, one of the things, and one of the reasons that this is so close to home is because we know that it is in 3rd grade that they decide how many more prisons they need to build. That's a blight on the United States society. Instead of coming up with more programs to attempt to rehabilitate people who are thinking incorrectly, we would rather buy them all Grand Theft Auto and let them go and kill each other. That's just a little editorial. Y'all forgive me, I am a preacher, so anyway. The other question that came up, Captain, is how can we help you with the sexual battery situation? We see an increase of 125% last month. I noticed it's not quite as bad this month. But what can we do to help you, and what is being done in that regard?
Sexual battery, along with domestic violence, are two of the hardest crimes to patrol because most of the time this type of crime happens behind closed doors. And we only get notified when it's all over with, if we get notified at all, because statistically what we get reported is not accurate as to how often it happens. A lot of victims are afraid to come forward because of the ridicule or because of the embarrassment or because of the process of going through a conviction with somebody that has committed a rape. Once again, and I believe this comes back to what we're talking about, the juvenile issue, upbringing. If we can provide these kids with the proper upbringing and to know right and wrong and to stay on this road, I think it all starts with this juvenile problem. If you look at the statistics of those who rape, those who commit domestic battery, chances are they learn this is a taught behavior that they learn from a parent or as a product of how they grew up. More times than not, this is a problem from how they grow up. So if we can get more programs for these kids where we can integrate some education about this, domestic violence, about rape, about the consequences of it, these things in these juvenile programs, we might be able to make a severe dent in this. Now, we're talking right now, according to the current paperwork I have, sexual battery is up 83%, which is a huge number. But I want to put this in perspective because year to date, this time in 2013, we had 6. Year to date for this year, we have 11. So we're talking an increase of 5 more, which is in itself far too many. That gives us our 83%. And also, if you look, our domestic violence, we're currently up by 19%. The month of May, we had 3 times the number of domestic violence cases as we had the month of May in 2013. 3 times. That's huge.
That's huge.
That's huge. And these are the ones that are reported to us, once again. You know, there are victims out there who do not report this. So that number is not accurate. There are more than what we're seeing. I can guarantee you that. But once again, because it's a behind closed door, it happens, and there's really no way for police, other than through education, to be proactive when it comes to domestic violence and sexual assault. It's very difficult.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
I do. I've been sitting here listening to and several of the comments. Captain, thank you again for being here. I was one of the ones that brought up about sexual batteries and so forth, the increase. And, you know, for our church particularly, we have youth programs, the Jaguars, but getting funding is often difficult, and folks are not reinvesting back into the community. And we look towards the churches, then we have restrictions saying church and state doesn't go together.
Right.
You know, we use it when we want to, and other than that, we leave it alone. We have a lot of work to do, of course. But it goes back to something you said, which was parenting. I think we got to go back and teach values and morals and standards, because you have kids having kids, and then you have grandkids raising grandparents raising kids, and so you have generational gaps. You have other issues there, and then our community only present the negative side of life. There's nothing positive. The news, the media, all of it portrays pretty much all the negative aspect. Gangs, again, you have folks that are going in there trying to belong. They're trying to be part of something. They're not getting the love. They're not getting the support system. They're not getting the encouragement to go on and graduate from school or learn a trade. And then we, as society, or members in society, we are not doing our part. And that's going as adults, businesses, churches, I mean, all of us. Everybody is for themselves. So somewhere along the line, we have to come together. Leisure services is wonderful. Police department, everybody's doing a piece. But we have to come together and really share true love or interest or a caring attitude. I work for the House Next Door, which is a nonprofit counseling agency, as the program director, and I work within all the systems, whether it's DJJ, CPC, school system, and so forth. Again, working with behavior kids. And the reason I do that because I want to make a difference. I feel the reason most of us are here is that we want to make a difference. I think we have been so segregated and separated that we have not taken the time to really come together. We talk a good talk, but there is no actions behind it. And somewhere in there, if you can facilitate or get us together, get folks together, I think that would be a wonderful idea, a wonderful concept, and we can take that. I know there are other cities that's doing certain things. Maybe we can learn from some of those cities and kind of implement, have some pilot programs. But I think working with the different entities, various entities, collaborating together, coming together, the churches, churches is a powerful weapon that we have in our community. A lot of these families go to church. We used to have the program One Child, One Church, and we had, the different aspects. And the things that work went away. Prevention is unmeasurable. Treatment you can measure. Prevention, you don't know the impact that you're making. Most times, legislators and the folks that deal with the dollars, they're looking at what's measurable. What impact it can have, pre-post testing, which is all great. But prevention, we're preventing stuff that you can't really measure because you don't know the impact. If you work with one child, you're impacting the entire family. There are other siblings in there. So I think I applaud you and I applaud the chief and the entire staff for what they're doing. But I think as a community, as a Midtown area, we got to come together. We've talked long enough. Somebody have to step up and say, hey, we need to make a difference. We need to do something. And so, again, I thank you. I'm willing to, as part of the church, to do what I can. We spend $20,000 buying equipment for folks to play football. But the parents are not able to afford just to keep the stuff going.
Right.
And the monies are not coming into the church because everybody's not giving as much as they're giving. And so it ricochets from one to the other. So if we can find some dollars out there, I think it would be wonderful. I'm behind you. I support you, whatever I need to do. Thank you.
I think that if we were to get together, and I'll be more than happy to try and organize the key players to get everybody in the same room, but if we could get all of us in the same room, pick some ideas, get them on paper, assign some tasks to some people, and all of us collectively come up with one program, just one, and sink our efforts and our time into that one program and see if we can get something successful started.
Yeah.
Right? Let's not bite off more than we can chew.
Right.
But that one program, if we can reach out to however many kids this program will support, that's a lot more than we have right now.
Right. That's right.
So if we pick one, go forward with that, and then see how that does, maybe next year we pick another one, and we get two going. And we start this thing snowballing. I'd be more than happy to. I'll tell you what I'll do is I want to bring in leisure services. I want to bring in juvenile justice. I want to bring in some of these other players. So what I'll do is give me some time. Let me sit down. Let me make a list of who I believe should be there. And I'll send out an invite where we can all meet at Valor, or we can meet right here in this room. And let's see what we can do. Let's try.
Okay. That sounds good.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
sir.
we have a major issue about to unfold. After July 4th, when I was a kid, I used to get nervous because another month I'm back in school. We have no after-school program. We had about 250, almost 300 kids at the Midtown Center several years ago. They stated that because of the buses went from 16,000 to 56,000, and how it went that far in 1 year, I don't know. But, I guess we got somebody here who worked with the school system. We need to find out why the bus situation got to cost so much. And I haven't heard who met with the school board to try to get that in. But if we're going to be putting policemen in the schools, in turn, I would like to see the school board provide the buses to get our kids to the after-school program, because we know that kids in an after-school program, first of all, they don't commit crime and they're not victims of crimes. We know that they have more apt to finish school, and right now we have a tremendous problem with them dropping out. And we know that most of our street drug dealers drop out of school. They're not in a program. And we have to have some type of after-school program. And I know money is an issue, but when we talk about to save these kids, to get one of them and save one, because I really don't want to see another kid from our community on death row. I don't want to see another person victimized because these kids have absolutely nothing to do. You tell me it's 16 gangs in the city of Daytona Beach?
16.
We got more gangs here than we have teams.
You're right.
And so
You're right.
that's a disgrace. And you're talking about
the problem. We need commissioners who understand the problem. But right now, when leisure services come in, they talk about how honky-dory our programs and what a wonderful job they are doing. And I know better, and you know it too.
Okay.
Well,
Now, just a second. One of the things that we need to do, I'm like this. Anybody who went to a doctor that could only diagnose your problem, you wouldn't go much more. We've diagnosed the problem. Now what I need is for some folks to come with some prognosis and some treatments, and let's find a solution for the problem.
Right.
Because we can tear the problem up from now on.
and we can point fingers.
After school
Exactly.
program is a solution. And like I said, we talk
Okay,
about
here's what
300
I need you
kids.
to do, Mr. Miller. Would you put together an outline for an after-school program and bring it to us next month?
May I say something before you say that?
No, I've already said it.
What?
Go ahead, Dr.
Stop you
Jameson.
from saying it. What I would
Use
like
your
to do-
microphone.
What I would like to do is do some research on other programs that have been done in other cities, look at those, get the statistics and the success rate and all that,
Sure.
and compile that together. And I also want to make sure that you put me on that list.
Okay, then
It's easier to catch me on the phone on the back.
Okay.
what if you work with Mr. Miller to get this done?
I would work with Dr. Jameson to get this done.
There is no real reason to reinvent the wheel here. There are many successful programs.
Yeah.
It's just we need to, like you said, research those programs and adapt them to our needs and our situation. And I
And we
think that
can
that's something-
include all the players, the school system,
Sure.
the Title I program. Everybody can be included in it, but we need to first, and y'all have to forgive me, I just don't believe in just finding a problem and not coming up with a solution. If we can't come up with a solution, there's no need to bring up the problem.
We know what the problem is.
Yeah, we know that.
And we need to all sit down with the right players
And let's make
put
a-
just one program. It's going to
Exactly.
fix part of our problems and go forward with.
And I believe that that will make a big change in everything that we're talking about, because I'm a product of the CETA program. And because of the CETA program, we now have Reality House out in DeLand, Florida, that I helped open. And I'm not saying that being braggadocious, it's just that it works. And we know that if we can put something in place, I believe that we've got the backing now to make it happen. And if we have something in place, we can get the funding. Because there's people out there who are looking to fund something. And people will fund something if you're doing something. That's the number one thing that we have to do. And I appreciate all of you bringing this up. And if Dr. Jameson, if you and Mr. Miller would get together and put us something together, do some research, and if you can have it back for the next meeting, that would be wonderful. And then we can even pass that information on to Captain so he'll be able to have something to work with. And anyone who wants to work with Captain Blanchard, I'm sure he would be happy to have you participate, because we need to get something done. Because I'm like Mr. Miller now. I refuse to keep seeing our youth lost and just dropping in the cracks. We need to do something to fix those cracks. And I appreciate you coming out tonight, Cap. I know you've had a long day.
It's been a long day. That's okay. That's okay. I'm here for the Midtown Board.
And those are the main things that we were addressing.
Okay.
Other things, I did mention one thing, but I've already gotten some feedback on that, so I don't need to beat a dead horse.
Okay.
All right.
I got a comment on the CompStat report.
Okay.
I'm just amazed at how much crime is down in this city. You guys are doing an absolutely fantastic job. I'm serious. I'm a criminology major, and I just love your reports. Even a person who a slow learner can take a look at your drafts and tell what we're doing, and you guys follow this stuff very, very close. I commend you guys on
Thank
what
you.
you do.
Yeah.
According to the last report, we are on the west side now. This doesn't count the east side. We are 7% down
Right.
in total Part 1 crimes. Now, that's huge, especially in the summer months. We always see crime go up in the summer months because idle hands. This is the first time since I've been here that we've actually seen it drop. So I think the next set of numbers will be out tomorrow. I think we lost a little bit of ground because we had a lot of car breaks, a lot of burglaries. So I think we might have lost a little bit of ground. We'll see how much tomorrow. It all depends on how many crimes there were the same time last year. But to be 7%, the chief is happy with that number. I'm extremely happy, and we're going in the right direction. So that's positive.
Yep. Very good.
Yes. Any other questions? Anything I can? All right. Thank you
we
very much
thank
for the
you, sir.
opportunity. And like I said, if you would like me back next month, I'll be more than happy. And I'm going to get your numbers for you, the juvenile crimes, how many juveniles. I'm going to try and get those statistics for you, sir. Okay?
I can give you my number.
Please.
Thank you, Captain Blanchard.
Thank
Very, very informative and good. And thank the board for the input. And we're going to do something about this.
Yes, we are.
Let's do it. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Now, I looked over the code enforcement. I don't see anything really new on there. And we talked about most of it last month. So unless there is something new that someone wants to talk about, I think we will just acknowledge our code enforcement report.
Madam, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
it's just that I am amazed at the number of parcels, lots in Midtown that went before the code this month. 41 lots in Midtown. We need to do something about that. Find out services that can help these people, just what. I know it has been raining and all those good things. I was out mowing yesterday, but that was just for exercise.
My.
But with 41 lots in Midtown, we need to do something about that. It takes away from the appearance of it.
Okay. So noted. One of the things that also we need to keep in mind is that when code enforcement gets involved with something, they do have a process they must follow legally so that they don't put the city at liability.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons we'll see these same parcels showing up over and over, because there is a process that must be taking place. I wish we could identify some organizations, fraternities, sororities, or some places that can help some of these senior citizens and other people like that that can't get certain things done. And then we've got some people that need help knowing how to do certain things. Just because a person owns property doesn't mean they know how to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also we do know we have a lot of absent property owners. So, guys, we need your help. If you know of any, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I was just thinking for some of the lawn service companies that goes and cut grass for different citizens, maybe if they could adopt one senior citizen.
Okay.
And say, hey, adopt this one senior citizen and keep the grass cut. It's not gonna. They're not gonna lose any money just by cutting one additional yard per, each week.
Okay. That would be a big help.
In Midtown.
Right. All right. Thank you for that. That would be a big help. We can contact some of these lawn services, and a lot of you know a lot of the lawn services, and there's nothing wrong with talking to them. This is our community.
I had a comment, Mr. Chair. Whatever happened, or the question, what happened to the Salvation Army street team?
Oh, they're out there.
Also, are they helping? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, they're out there.
Yeah, I saw them yesterday.
And but those are wonderful. That's a beautiful suggestion. That's what we need to get busy on some of this to make a difference. Just like we know it was difficult getting the Midtown Master Plan done, and a lot of people figured that couldn't get done, but it's done, and that's huge. So, guys, we can make a difference. Yes, ma'am.
In one of my other lives.
Here she goes again.
I've been somewhere. At FSU, we had a program at the beginning of the semester. We would have a big day, and the freshmen in particular, when they came in, we would identify seniors and other people who need a new walkway, a new this, that, and the other. And on that day, we would have about 500 students go out in the community and do and volunteer. United Way used to have a volunteer program. I kind of worked there for a little while here in terms of identifying various places that need some assistance. And so maybe Bethune-Cookman, part of their program, and I know the sororities and fraternities send people out, and I know one church, they're always calling them, and they don't have anything for them to do. So maybe we could, and I know Emory Riddle has a program where their students go out and volunteer, but they don't know about the needs in our community. So there are volunteer people out there that can do these things, but we don't have any way of getting in touch with them or telling them this person needs something or that. So the point I'm making is a lot of people volunteer in this community, in this city, but not in our community.
Well, how can we contact them? No, you brought it up. I need to know from you.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, I know. Well, I don't know. I don't know the particular. I remember a lady. Her name Claudette, I think, McFarrell at Bethune-Cookman. I'm not sure, but I know there is somebody at Bethune-Cookman who deals with that kind of community service. And the problem is matching those people to those in the community. How do you identify those people that really need assistance? So we have to be a twofold process. So it can be done.
Yep, I agree. Mr. Miller?
Mr. Chairman, I truly think that's a very good idea. There's a lot of fraternities and sororities We have quite a number of fraternities and sororities here in the city of Daytona Beach, especially on campus, and even our grad chapter. I would be more than happy to take a lead on trying to get them to begin to volunteer and work on the list that we actually have to help some of our senior citizens, because that's really one of the problems that we're having. These folks are up there in age, and they're on fixed incomes, and they really just can't afford it.
Right. That would be wonderful.
Thank
so
you.
We appreciate you taking the lead in that, and I love the idea, Dr. Jameson. Your idea is beautiful, and what we'll do is contact Embry Riddle and different places like that, and see who it is that is doing that, because we've got some senior citizens that some of them have lost some of their homestead. So now they're having to pay some taxes, and they're on fixed incomes, y'all. And that makes a difference. Yes, sir.
What about the juvenile detention? I mean, can they leave the air-conditioned facility for a couple hours and go out and clean up? I mean, is it any kind of written rule against them cleaning up?
That we would have to check with juvenile justice, but I don't think there would be any problem with it. One of the things is we know that there are a lot of places, a lot of people that have to do community service, not just in juvenile justice, but in the community at large, because many of the high school students even do community service. The problem is getting the equipment for them to be able to do this, and the liability factor. That's the other thing. So certain things we need to find out how we can get it implemented. And those are things that we're going to have to try to run over. In fact, I'll probably have to get with the attorney to find out something more specific in that area. As the board itself, we don't have the authority to send anybody out to do that. But as individuals, that's a different story. You understand what I mean by that? Okay. Am I right about that,
right.
Mr. Turner?
Anytime the board officially delegates responsibility to one of its members to do a thing, then the member has to be in the sunshine and have a scheduled meeting with attendance by a recording clerk and everything like that. So that's
Okay.
what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair and Board, would it be feasible if we organize a community cleanup day for the Midtown area, and we could go out and find out the need of the community and designate different organizations to assign them to a specific task for that day, and that would be like a kickoff for a community event. They could stick with that particular person, that organization, but so we could do something big in the community. It'd be a big organized kickoff day cleanup for the Midtown area.
Okay.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Yeah. See, that's why I like Mr. Bryant. Yes.
The state, I believe, has this program, Adopt a Road, a street, and certain people clean up that on a regular basis. Why can't we, as in the city, adopt a road? You know, organizations, a group of people, and a church, and just start saying, this is your road to maintain cleanup. It's usually just trash or something like that. But I think we sit here, but we need to be seen in the community, you know, doing certain things. So that may be part. We have a lot of ideas here tonight, but part of that is getting these organizations, the schools can adopt a road or something else. Just have an internal program in the city of Daytona Beach saying this is a road you're going to watch out for, and something like that. Maybe we could adopt a road or something.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
So it would probably be nice if we get in touch with the neighborhood watch programs too, so they can get involved.
All right. Okay. That sounds good. I think that we can get started on those things right away. If you all would, Mr. Bryant, would it be all right if we emailed you about the community cleanup? And that way we can all email Mr. Bryant, and that way we can coordinate that so that we can get involved with the community cleanup and we can get the message out to the fraternities and sororities and to come in and churches to come in and help us. And that could make a big difference in getting a lot of this stuff on code enforcement taken care of.
May I ask a question? If we developed, how should I say, a letter saying from Midtown Board, these are the things we're thinking about, these, very detailed letter about a lot of stuff we talked about today, and included in, I know a lot of times we put things on the internet, but people don't go on the internet. If we can include it in some mail out that the city might be sending out. I was thinking ahead of myself because I was trying to say send it to Midtown area people, but just put it in the water bill, for instance. Is that possible?
That would have to be cleared through the city commission and through the city manager, wouldn't it?
I don't know if the city commission would need to approve it. The city manager would, and I don't know whether logistically they have the ability to add that to utility bills. So I'm sure Reed and Charles can find that sort of thing out.
I think let's get the basics started, and we'll look at a number of ways that we can probably work in getting the word out. Right?
Okay. So who would like to take responsibility for formulating that letter? But you have such wonderful ideas.
Dr. Jameson would be a nice person.
Remember this, y'all. I'm retired.
That means you have a lot of time. Thank you, Dr. Jameson. Moving right along. Moving to item 7, DEV 214-080, BCU Phase 2. At this time, Mr. Bryant, if you would read our conceptual review.
Good evening again, Board, Mr. Chair. This is agenda item number 7, conceptual review, DEV 2014-080, BCU Residential Hall Phase 2. Keep in mind that this is Phase 2. This is a different residential hall than we looked at before. I just want to emphasize that. And this is a conceptual review, so there will be no action taken on this particular item tonight. This is the applicant is Parker Menckenberg and Associates on behalf of Bethune-Cookman University. The project is BCU Residential Hall. It says 42,000 square foot residential dormitory. I think it's more than that, but the applicant is here. A representative of the applicant is here tonight from BCU. The location is 357 North Martin Luther King Boulevard. Review the request. Board action is review the conceptual site plan as required by Article 4, Section 8.2C of the Land Development Code. The board with final site plan approval is the Midtown Redevelopment Area Board. The project description: the Bethune-Cookman University BCU Resident Hall Phase 2 are 2 proposed residential dormitory buildings to be located on the BCU campus. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 4-story buildings for a total of 42,000 square feet. Again, that number is different on an existing parking lot. The project is located close to the southeast corner of the intersection of Dr. Miriam Cloud Bethune Boulevard and North Lincoln Street in the Midtown redevelopment area. Analysis. City staff has reviewed a conceptual site plan over 20,000 square feet for the Midtown Redevelopment Area Board's review and consideration. The existing zoning is RA multifamily. The applicant will undergo the following approval process: conceptual review by the Redevelopment Board, staff review through the Technical Review Team, TRT, and Midtown Redevelopment Board site plan review and approval. Article 5.5.1 of the Land Development Code states for all development in excess of 20,000 square feet GFA in redevelopment areas and historic overlay districts, a concept plan shall be required prior to submittal of a site plan. The concept plan shall be reviewed by one or both of the following boards. The concept plan for any development located in a redevelopment area shall be reviewed by the redevelopment board for that area. The concept plan for any development located in a historic overlay shall be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Board. For concept plans for any development located in both an historic overlay and a redevelopment area, the Historic Preservation Board shall provide recommendations to the Area Redevelopment Board. The applicant is requesting that the board review the attached site plan information and provide any comments for the conceptual review of the project. The project has been through one review by staff. During the review, staff noted that the proposed project is required to meet building setback requirements for the school conditional use in the RA multifamily zoning district. Article 17, Section 2.141, schools require that private schools in the RA zoning district meet the minimum yard and setback requirements for the T3 zoning district or the RA zoning district, which is more restricted. The chart in the report shows the requirements for this particular structure. The applicant would have to verify that significant parking is provided for the entire BCU campus based on the number of parking spaces required for colleges and universities in Article 8, Section 2.5. The applicant should develop a pedestrian mobile plan for the campus. The project will have to meet utility standards, including sanitary sewer demand requirements and reuse water service at site plan approval. Just wanted to point out that again about the parking issue. That's with these two dormitories that's going to bring on the campus of BCU. The applicant is here, representative from the applicant is here tonight to address it. Mr. Wagner will be able to address any questions that you may have.
Okay. All right. If you would state your name for the record, please, sir.
Joshua Wagner at 1020 West International Speedway Boulevard, Daytona Beach. If you don't mind, sir, and fellow board members, can I start by reading something? I think it's very fitting for what the whole discussion has been today.
All right.
Take a second. This was an article that ran today in the News Journal. I'll just read the first couple paragraphs, because I think it's interesting. Victoria Denise struck her hands through a couple of her holes cut in a cardboard box into a pair of thick black gloves. The 10-year-old looked through a clear film covering the top of the box and used a marker to write an ungainly message on a sticky note. The exercise was part of a science lesson on a recent day designed to simulate an astronaut's limited dexterity in a spacesuit to students at Bethune-Cookman University's Summer Academy for Children in Elementary School. The 4-week program aims to help local students stay on track to catch up with their peers in reading, math, science during the summer months. The 84 children who will enter grades 3 through 5 in August also will visit Kennedy Space Center. A couple more paragraphs. Bethune-Cookman offers the program at no cost to the families. And I think one of the best lines from a man I've met a couple years ago and I find to be brilliant. Dr. Jackson says, it's too late when young people graduate high school, and we focus our attention then. And I think a lot of your comments that you made tonight, and obviously my background used to be a prosecutor, the comments that were made by the captain tonight I think are very on point, especially when you talk about third graders and designing the size of prisons. The university is obviously, as everyone knows, has been through a real neat transformation. I think instead of through some years and in some different cultures, there's been walls. And I think we're in a point with this university now where those walls have come down. Programs like this that are no cost to the kids and to the families, and I think it's a family thing. Someone who has a couple kids, as I was texting a minute ago, trying to figure out dinner with my wife and the kids, it's hard when you work a lot, and it's people talk about the kids having something to do in jobs and what we do is, in my capacity as a lawyer, but also my other life, like you have a couple lives as well, board member Jameson, the many lives. It's also about jobs, so the families and they aren't working 2 jobs. They're not in a position where they can't make a livable wage, and the kids are home alone because they're working 2 jobs and they just can't make ends meet. I say that because it is important when we talk about plans like this in partnerships with the university and the things we're trying to do and the things that Dr. Jackson he's bringing to his board. And this is one of those times. There are short-term jobs with these types of projects, especially this one. It's a large project. And for the record, the site plan is 40,000 square feet for the imprint. But if you take the 4 levels, it's 132, little over 132,000 square feet. That's a big project. It's a big investment, a serious investment. It's 548 beds. Phase 1, as we were here a couple months ago. Totally separate, although they'll look similar, but totally different one. We need more beds at the university as far as just upgrades for the most part, for a lot of it. But it is separate, and what we've done, just to get everybody kind of together where we're at, we were working on phase 1 because that was the dire need to really get that going as far as the students' beds. Phase 2, we were able to catch up a little bit through the city, was very helpful with that. And we have to applaud them, the staff, for what they've been able to do to help. The TRT, for those that follow that, it's a great system set up by Daytona Beach. So we're able to catch up a little bit. But instead of doing the second reading for phase 1, we thought it made more sense to do them both together. So that's why phase 2 is tonight, this initial concept plan, because we're catching up phase 1 and phase 2. So when we bring it back to you at the next meeting, you're going to actually have both. And we thought that actually made a lot more sense for you as a board, for the city as well. So that being said, the main thing when you look at this, one of the main things that I've been working on the last couple weeks has been parking. Parking is, as we all know, an issue with the university. We talked about it the last time. Luckily, there's some creative measures that we're able to look at to take care of those. We're really, when we come back, we'll probably get a lot deeper into it because I'm working on different contracts and different things that we can do, working with the city staff to figure out what exactly they would like us to do, because they have visions as well, and we want to work with the city as well as the Midtown board to make sure we follow that vision and we fit in. We're our puzzle piece. So I'll have a lot more information on the pedestrian mobility plan. It's not just parking. It's how do they get from the parking, noise levels, things like that. So we'll get a lot deeper on that. We can go through. We actually have someone from Parker's team here tonight. Parker couldn't be here, who can go through specific questions. Obviously, you have the plans. I can answer some of them from a legal capacity, and a lot of things I've been doing as far as neighborhood meetings, discussions I've had with neighbors. I can tell you our last neighborhood meeting went very well, very well. I was very appreciative of the amount of people that showed up. It was very positive. Some of the comments, people just wanted some trees trimmed, and we went out and trimmed trees. I didn't personally, but I was ready to if it need be. I've trimmed many trees in my day. But we've really been reaching out to the community to make sure we're addressing all the issues that we've heard thus far. But I can tell you parking has been one of the major ones. And how we view the parking, this may help you as well in this discussion. Right now, the university meets its parking needs. It's actually in excess on paper. But there's a big difference between paper and me trying to go to my house or me trying to get somewhere and find parking. So we're trying not to just go on the paper. We're trying to really fix any parking issues that arise, because just because it says on paper you meet it doesn't necessarily mean you meet it. From a practicality standpoint, Florida State goes through that issue. My alma mater, University of Florida, goes through that issue. Bethune-Cookman goes through that. So it's just finding this pedestrian plan, mobility plan, to really fix that issue. And then we can have some comments from the design team as far as the site plan is concerned, the initial concept, or if you just want to jump straight into questions, we can do that as well.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead.
Attorney, I can remember the Performing Arts Center, and we were able to give a waiver for the parking. Now you all are getting ready to build all these dorms, and you're taking part of the parking that you have. Could you please tell me where y'all putting these people?
Well, a lot of the people, when you lose the parking spots, those are definitely lost spots. But as far as the students, the same amount of students are coming. So as far as the people on campus, they have class, so we're always going to have that problem of parking to and fro and the way the equations worked out. But to answer your question, we're building parking lots.
Where about?
They're actually all over. That's what we're working with the city right now. Is the
When you
mobility
call
plan.
when you call all over, could you please tell me where all over, because I'm very familiar with the campus.
Okay. There's some right away on the campus. There are lots that have been saved for expansion of the university. I know we wanted to do some on the south side of International, but speaking to the city, they didn't want us to go too far south.
Where about?
When I say all over, literally the entire campus.
But sir, I've been on that campus. I don't know whether or not you've been on that campus. You can't find a parking space on that campus when school is going on. I'm serious. And now you're taking the parking lot that y'all have and you're putting a building there. Right now, you got a special permit to put the Performing Arts Center. Now you're finna put, those 2 dorms there. So, sir, you taking some of the parking and then you tell me the parking is all over. That's a problem for me.
I can tell you the situation. We cannot move students into these buildings unless the parking plan is established with the city and it's taken care of. So there's no way, we can't open the doors unless the parking's taken care of. But coming in here with a concept plan, certain contracts have to be finalized, deals have to be worked out. The question is, we have more than enough area to have the parking. It's not a question. The question is, what makes the most sense to convert for the parking? And that's the question, is we want to work with the city to figure out exactly how does it fit in their plan where they want the cars.
I thought you was going to buy the U-Haul place and you was going to use that for parking. What happened?
I would hope that they wouldn't use the U-Haul property for parking. That has a much better commercial use. I think for the future of Midtown. I think when we talk about that, but that's not part of the parking plan, just so you know. But if the U-Haul, I would hope this board would support a multi-use of that property just for tax purposes, not a parking lot. You don't want to turn anything on International Speedway Boulevard into a parking lot. It's a bad idea. From a planning standpoint, you don't want to do it.
No.
It's absolutely, it would be bad for the Midtown. And that's just my opinion. I would advise my client of the same, but I would hope that even if it's not Bethune-Cookman, ISB is a great corridor in which you can capitalize on tax dollars.
Yeah.
And that's both my hats on that one.
Ms. Hurd?
I have a question. I'm still trying to visualize, and I think I know exactly where the building is going to be. We have the Harrison Rose Library, right? And to the right, going towards Lincoln Street. Is that where the old...
Would it be okay if I...
Yes. Excuse me. Thank you.
Some people just need attention.
Well, she's asking the same question.
It's right on it.
It's on the corner?
It's right on it.
Can we put it on the projector so we can all see what he's talking about?
If you go to page, I have it as my
Mr.
page.
Chairman, he may not know, it is where the old boys' dorm.
Okay,
was.
okay.
How
I know.
old are we talking?
Okay.
Not to you reflected at me.
Now, this dorm, will it be designated for which level?
The
Freshman?
first one is freshman. I believe it has not been
In
determined.
which we have already talked about, they don't have cars.
Yes.
Okay. The second one.
It's my understanding that this one hasn't been determined because it's the size. The first
Yes.
one's 600 beds. You can fill it with freshmen. You're going to have another roughly 600 beds when you start running out of freshmen.
The reason why I mentioned that and about the freshmen, because they don't have cars, and I was just listening to everyone make a comment, and I don't see there being a great problem in rebuilding a dormitory that we've had for 50-odd years or so. And only thing I would like to say, in the event that students or residents of the city have to park, the city police, the city will be more concerned about the parking spaces, because even during events, I pass by there and the police department or motorcycle cops out there writing tickets. And I have stopped several times and asked them, why are you writing tickets when we don't have anywhere else to park, when events are going on? So that is something we're going to have to look into with the police department. We don't have any money to be giving them just because of parking. They can find other things to do while they are there. So I understand where the dormitory is being built, where the old boys dorm. Is that right? Cookman Hall.
And it's, at the end of the day, there's going to be more parking gained than parking lost. And with the equations with the city and what we have to abide by, we're going to go over and beyond that just because we think it makes sense. You know, the paper part of it makes sense, but from a mobility pedestrian standpoint, we want to make sure the students can walk about and are close to camp, as far as the buildings, to getting to and from classes.
Right.
We like them living on campus because it does make it easier. You don't have traffic. It's foot traffic. And bike traffic is a lot better than car traffic. I mean, that's what we want,
right,
especially to fit into some of the plans that the city wants to do and some of your plans with Midtown and in the future. I mean, that's a big group of students we want walking to, obviously, a lot of the businesses that are going to be there. So,
okay.
That's important.
Thank you.
Mr. Fuqua.
I was just sitting there listening to you, discuss about parking, and what came to my mind is, what about building a garage?
Is your mic on?
Building a garage for the staff. Building a garage for the staff members, and then they could be, transported, by the shuttle, and then saving the regular ground parking for the students.
The issue was the funding price. We ran the numbers and what it would take for the expense of it, and it's going to happen. The question is when. I mean, we had the discussions literally every couple weeks. It comes back as what part of what phase, because it's not just phase 1 and phase 2. There are multiple phases. It's just a question, when does it get to the point where we can't meet the needs on a flat level and we have to go vertical because the expense, it's high. It's a money thing that it's difficult to make work. I've worked on a couple parking garages. I can tell you, it's just flat land is, obviously you're paving a lot, or you're doing some other creative measures. You can afford it when you have that upper level and you're not charging for parking per se. It just gets hard, but it's going to happen. There will be a time when someone, hopefully me, is coming before you and saying, "This is where we'd like to put a parking garage." It's only a matter of time, and every university goes through that. At some point, not every university, but growing ones do.
Okay, Mr. Schwartz, then Dr. Jameson.
Of course.
What about putting the parking, at least for the dormitory, underneath the building?
That was discussed as well. We talked about that with one of the architects on the team, but it was just from a funding standpoint. For what you get, for what you're spending, it's astronomical what it does to the project.
I mean, do they figure out how many, because, freshmen are going to have cars.
Of course.
And, you're losing some parking, but, just looking at the floor plan, I noticed, the main entries are mainly all Mary Bethune, not where the parking is going to be. And that kind of concerns me, where they have to walk a long ways, or even just visitors.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when kids are at school, their parents come to visit, grandparents, they're going to be walking a long way just to go see their kids.
Yeah, and that was we discussed that with the neighborhood group. That was one of the items they brought up is, on paper, all these things make sense, but when you have these events and the parents are coming in, they're the ones parking on the street. So a lot of that's on the university as far as educating parents when there's invitations, where there's things going on.
That doesn't really happen.
Well, it's also one of those things, as I could say, everyone breaks the law, so why have speed limit signs? There has to be some sort of mechanism to do all these things and to accomplish them. I can tell you, we're going over and beyond as far as the numbers. You're always going to have a few people here and there violate, park in someone's front yard, or not in their yard, but off the street. It's going to happen. All we can do is make sure there's enough available parking and educate our students and their families when they come in town. This is where we want you to park. This is how we expect this pedestrian mobility to work. But I can tell you, with all these plans, parking that's why I've spent the last 2 weeks working solely on parking, because it is a major concern. It is, and there are a lot of options. Like I said, we'll go through every option when we have our mobility plan when we come back. We have to. Technically, we have to. We can't open a door. We could have a big empty dorm, and it would look great for the Midtown community, but it would be empty.
Yeah, just looking at an aerial and where the existing parking is and I mean, it just looks like you're going to be going a long ways from where the new dormitories are to where even like existing parking, or maybe you might even be able to put proposed new parking would be. Just looks like it's going to be a bit away.
No, I can appreciate that too. We've actually had that even with phase one. It's just obviously the closer we can get it to where they're sleeping and they're living, the better. And I can tell you it's definitely part of the plan. I mean, it's as much as close as we can get without taking that walkability space, because we do want to be careful how we mix cars and people walking. That's another.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because you don't want, people don't always follow the speed limits, so you don't want kids walking. But it's just a big concern, the parking, and you're adding a ton of beds here. Yeah. And I guaranteed half the kids are going to have cars.
And this one, I won't, there will be, at a minimum, there'll be some freshmen in here just based on pure numbers, which technically shouldn't have cars. And we're also trying to address that issue in a creative manner as well, as far as the freshman parking for those that have off-site cars and leave them at people's houses and they're in driveways. And we know it exists, so we're trying to take care of it. But that being said, there will be people in this dorm that are going to have vehicles. It's not like the first one where we said, no, they're all freshmen. This one, at a minimum, will have some. The number of them, I don't know. But that being said, and I come back to it, is there's a slow increase in the amount of students as far as the growth of the campus. So right now, every kid has to come on campus for class. Every teacher has to come, or professor has to come to teach. The deans have to be there. Everyone's there. So we have the same amount right now. It's just the difference is these students will leave their cars there. So the traffic, the car traffic, the more people we have on campus, and I know it seems counterintuitive, the more people that are living on campus, strangely enough, should equate to less cars traveling around. I know it just seems, you just have to think it through, but that's the reality of it. It's creating a walkable campus, which in essence fits into your plans as far as the study that you guys just completed, is to get them park here, but don't move your car for 5 days. I mean, hopefully they're walking, and you'll have more carpool pulling once they're living together, because as you know, they're all dorming together. So.
Okay, I have a couple other comments. Enough on the parking, but I do like the concept of the whole courtyard in the middle. I like it a lot. Were they going to provide any kind of cafe for them? I might be getting off deep. But.
No, there is. There's as far as the student union, as far as plans for, there will be a retail aspect of this. The student union, so there'll be more involvement there'll be more things for the kids to, as far as purchasing food, more private development on campus. The good thing is that will actually be taxed. So that will actually go as far as a vertical component to Midtown as far as the fundings for the CRA, which is what the university wants. I mean, they want to bring in that type of business. So there will be reasons for them to be in that courtyard.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it. It's just like some of the areas I'd like to see the lounge closer to the courtyard, or maybe they interact more instead of just always being inside.
I agree with that. And I think the more you attract, anytime you have a food component, and food and drinks, you attract more people. I agree.
Otherwise, the elevations, I like it. I like the flat roof idea versus always seeing pitch roofs. I'm good.
Dr. James?
Thank you for this.
Okay. I spent most of my previous life on FSU's campus. I paid $135 for the opportunity to search for a parking space. Okay, so
I know that feeling.
Parking on Bethune-Cookman campus, the size of it is nowhere compared to large campuses where it'd be 4 days before you can find a parking space. Freshmen should not have cars. If they illegally bring a car to campus, then they gonna park on my street. That's where they park anyway, on Martin Luther King, and that's somebody else's problem. Okay, aside from parking, I am glad that you are building more campus dormitories, because I believe that freshmen and sophomores should stay on campus. That's why many of them get in trouble. That's why there is a lot of crime associated and everything else, because students get in these campuses, these apartments off campus, and that's where a lot of the problems occurred. So they have a great opportunity to complete school stay out of trouble on campus. So the focus is on the education and progress. So being in a dormitory, I think, increases the possibility that we'll be successful. When I drive by Bethune-Cookman every day, and on Martin Luther King, there's very few people parking there, okay? And they do not have a need to have a car on Bethune-Cookman campus because it is not large enough for them to have a problem getting from one end to the other. As I said, on FSU campus, we had 6 buses going all at the same time in different directions to get us to class. So the Bethune-Cookman don't have that problem because I can walk from one end of Bethune-Cookman to the other end in less than 15 minutes. So the need for a car on campus is not a necessity at Bethune-Cookman to get into class.
I agree, and I won't hold it against you, Florida State, since you whooped us so bad in the national championship. Go Gators!
I used to like you.
It's the same. We used to have like Gator Growl. They would actually have they'd make funny videos. I remember the funniest one is they would have the shark, and they'd have someone hunting, and they'd be like dun 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 dun, and they'd have someone chasing down the parking spot just like Jaws, because it really was a hunt. But Bethune-Cookman, it is, you can go from one side to the other. You know, what you usually see, a couple bikes, a lot of skateboards, longboard skateboards, people, going around, that's real popular. And that's the mobility plan that we're putting together is exactly what you said, Dr. Jameson, based on that theory.
Ms. Ford?
Just in talking about what Mr. Ford said.
You done broke the thing. She broke it.
I didn't touch it.
Raise her taxes.
In talking about the parking, would they consider doing a loading and unloading docking area by those new dorms? Because if the parking is way on the other side, whether you're a freshman or not, and I took my daughter carrying all that stuff, and Cookman makes you move out the dorms at the end of every semester.
You're right. It's a must.
It's a
must.
headache.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a must. It has to be set up for it because even when I'm on campus, you see it. It's especially obviously if you're bringing in some food, things like that. It's just hard.
So that's what I'm saying. Having an unloading, they're not permanently parking, but somewhere where they can get it up to the room and move it.
Hey, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, some sort of. Yeah, and they'll abuse it a little bit because it always happens, but you have to have it.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wagner. It's just nice listening to you because I like listening to lawyers and politicians. And when you told me that we're going to have more parking spaces after this building is done than we have right now, could you please give me the math? You put the building where you got parking now. We gave a special permit for the Performing Arts Center. And the students, how many students in that building that we're replacing? I know that's just one dorm, but now we're putting I guess it's 3 now, right? Dorms that are going to be going up. Could you tell me how the number going to be more?
I'll give you an example.
Please.
You got 2 extra chairs I can put up on this this desk up here. Are there 2 extra chairs? I could just pull up 2 extra chairs and have more seats. It's the same room. I'm just putting a couple more chairs. It's the same amount of space. I'm just saying, hey, we're going to add some chairs to it.
You were not recognized
Oh,
by the chair.
I thought maybe.
Ms. Ford.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, let Ms. Ford finish, and I'll finish my question.
Sorry. But that's what we're doing. We're simply adding a couple more chairs to the table. You can fit them. I mean, I could fit a chair there. I could fit 2 chairs there. I could fit 1 there. We're adding more spots on campus, and some will be off campus and nearby campus in areas that the city thinks is appropriate and this board thinks is appropriate. So it's just a question of space that's not being utilized for parking on campus that makes more sense to be parking.
I agree with you.
Businesses do that.
I agree with you, Mr. Wagner. You can put a chair on this desk, but you can't put a car on this desk.
That would be difficult.
That'd be very difficult. And I'm just interested in seeing where we're going to park these cars because right now I know there's a major, major problem. And for us to build more buildings, and I'm ready to see the off-street parking or wherever it's going to be at. I'm curious.
The off-street parking, we've approached the city, and this is reality, and I'll give, obviously, that credit to them, is the idea behind on paper. Right now, it's already off-street parking. The city, in our meeting, the TRT, they're not looking for us to just rename a parking spot. It's not just, because I build on that little chair, I take the chair out and I move it, in that analogy, it already exists. We can't take off-street parking, go to the city and say, hey, can we use your off-street parking for Bethune-Cookman? That's not a solution. We're just changing the name. What we're doing is actually creating parking spots. We're creating parking where it does not exist now. Because if we didn't do that, then we're just changing the name, and that's not what this board wants. It's not what we want. We know we need more parking, even though on paper it says we're okay. We know we need to have more. So, are we going to use the off-street parking? Absolutely. Does it help? Absolutely. Are there time limits? Yes. But we need to add more, and that's what we're tasked to do, and that's what we're going to do, and that's why I'm working on it. And it's going to take a while. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts because it's not like you just throw a car on some grass. I mean, you actually have to have it permitted and go through that process.
Okay.
You talked about the tight space with the food court in the middle here. They're going to be for profit.
As far as the Union Hall, the activity hall, not all of it, the whole space, as far as the way the property appraiser does it, is let's say you take this room and you put a sandwich shop over here, some ice cream over here. They literally go in with a measuring tape, measure out that space. The common space won't be because that's the meeting area, but the parts that are commercial will be ad valorem like all of us with our houses or businesses because they are, in essence, a business.
So when they buy additional properties to park these cars, would it be taxable?
No.
Thank you.
No, it won't.
Okay. Now, my only concern about this is how we've already dealt with the unloading of the luggage and things like that when the students are coming to school. How close is this building to Dr. Moore's gravesite?
Very good question.
Does anyone have the distance? Do you know the distance?
Actual distance.
Look very close to me.
It's actually to the...
It's to the south, yeah.
Steve Buswell with Parker Mitchenberg and Associates.
Okay.
The site is located to the south. You can see on the cover sheet there's an existing wet detention pond that's located, has a fountain in it.
Mm-hmm.
The site is located to the south of that. We're not encroaching it upon that area. The detention pond will be reconfigured, basically widened, expanded in one area, lost in another, to basically have the required storage for the water management district, but the site will not be impacted.
Okay.
If you look at this one, which is, I'm looking at page 2. It looks like the site survey. If you go there, it is, if you see the circle goes straight up from that Slager and Associates circle, straight up with the square. So that's the reconfiguration. Be just to the left of that, the north.
Okay. Now, my next question is...
That's a really very good question, by the way. I agree with that.
Granted, I understand that Lefevre will remain where it is. The concept itself, I agree with Mr. Schwartz and everyone else. It looks good. But in the practical aspect of it, if we've got dads and moms and brothers and sisters having to bring luggage from Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard or even from North Lincoln Street to come all the way to the front of the building to come in.
Mr. Chairman,
That's a
may I comment on
No, I may finish. I did not interrupt you. Let me. I didn't ask you.
I'm going to let her answer. Thank you.
But if they're coming all the way there, what is being done in the idea of the building to effect that?
Am I allowed to phone a friend?
No.
From a standpoint of campus design, it goes back to the the walkability aspect. You will be inconvenienced a little bit during that time, but the rest of your stay, the rest of their stay, the majority of the time will be more convenient. So it's that inconvenience of moving in, moving out, and visitors, we do get there is inconvenience. But the day-to-day makes a lot of sense. And hopefully the drop-off areas and the areas around the street will be somewhat easy. Hopefully that passes, Doctor.
Okay. I can tell you how I saw it was solved.
That's
On
okay. I
another
wasn't.
campus.
You are not the one that's a part of this.
I'm dying to know, though, because I'm ready to write it down.
May I say something, please? My son, he at FAMU, what he had was a cart, and he had a business putting the luggage on and driving it from cars that was down the hill up. Campuses will work out those problems. This is something we don't need to deal with getting your clothes up in the dormitory. If they're in college, they'll work out a way. This is nothing we need to be worried about, whether or not they're going to get the food, the clothes, or whatever in the dorm. Okay?
Thank you, Dr. Jameson.
That out. My son is an industrial engineer because he figured it out and made money.
Thank you, Dr. Jameson. I was talking to Joshua Wagner about Bethune-Cookman, not FAMU. But I appreciate that. I just simply wanted to bring out certain things like that, especially when we're dealing with Dr. Moore's gravesite, because that's huge.
And integrity with the site.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I had a comment, question. You said that it's expensive to build a garage, but yet we're building other buildings. Where and when do that become a priority within the phases that we
I think you're probably looking at 2 more phases until it becomes a reality, as far as our discussions have been. It's just, as far as the funding mechanism and how dorms are done, it's this isn't cash. I mean, things are financed.
Understand.
So if it was a way for it to be paid for, then yes, but you can't. It's not like the parking garage next to the Ocean Center, I know well for obvious reasons. That makes money. Why? Because people are paying to go to the beach. There was an event there this weekend. They're paying the $5, and it makes $400,000. I mean, over the course of a year. The parking garage itself is a loss. I mean, in the sense of it's only going to be utilized, obviously, for the students, but it's not going to generate any money. These buildings, if you look at them, they're dorms. They're commercial as far as having retail. That's why a lot of this development is being able to be done. That's the reality until things change.
And could there not be a charge for student parking in that garage, and would help generate some funds?
I'll tell you, a lot of students I think would pay, and I know a lot of professors would as well. And that there might be a quasi plan to go with it because they would love to do it. The university would love to be in a position to get it done. It's just financially, it's not feasible.
And I understand. And my last comment, real quick, is I think the citizens in our community suffers because of this. And I know businesses and homeowners within the community that actually has issues or trouble, especially when there's special events going on, parking in their own driveways, on their own front of their property. So that is something I really would hope Bethune-Cookman would look at and be sensitive to the community.
I agree, and I think from what we've taken from the neighborhood meetings and the reaching out and the phone calls, parking has been the number one. Hey, can you work on this? Other than, like I said, the trees and things like that, there were some legitimate concerns on campus because you have campus, then you have homes.
Yes, sir.
I mean, obviously you have campus, then some businesses, but I don't know many businesses that are mad because they like the people, they like it. So our concern has really been focused on how do we get a good relation? How do we mend the relationship with some of I can tell you, I mended a relationship that was 30 years old last month. Now it's 30-year-old, they had been having issues and they not let it go for that long. And parking is one of those. People don't want it. So it's one of I can tell you, our main concerns to get taken care of with this project as well as all the other projects. It's not an easy task. It's one that we need partners with the city and we need to work with various groups, but it's something that we are putting a lot of efforts to resolve.
And as you're doing that, if you would definitely consider the noise level, especially you're going 4 stories high.
A lot of the windows, especially in phase one, as we discussed, they don't open. And obviously all the security measures are taking care of fire, things like that. But it's also worked into the design. Is the whole reason to have the courtyard is to have the sound in, so it doesn't go through. If you notice the design with phase one and phase two, they both use that concept. We don't want them hanging out on the street. We want to give them a reason to hang out in that courtyard, which I thought was a great point of Board Member Schwartz to bring up that concept, because that is the reason you have the courtyard, for that sole purpose.
Okay, thank you.
One last question. As far as like when you go to add additional parking, is that going to be like more soft parking, or is it going to be hard parking because you're going to take away green space?
We're
like
trying to.
Grass,
there's certain requirements in our discussions with the city. Most of it's going to be hard parking, because personally, I like soft. Worked on a project recently where we were able to do half asphalt, and instead of doing a whole project, we were able to do half green, just because it's parking that was less used. So it just depends on the location and what the city will allow us to do.
Yeah, because then, once you do hard parking, you got to make up for it, which ends up becoming retention ponds.
Mitigation, yeah.
But then retention ponds are ugly. But I know they do allow where you could park or you could do retention pond under parking.
Yeah, we like.
I know they allow that, and
we like that concept a lot better. Anytime we can. Especially a lot of this. There'll be some short-term parking, so if we can get some of the short-term parking to be more green, which I personally like it better anyways. But the city has certain standards that they'd like us to meet. But obviously, we don't want to build a bunch of retention ponds, especially one there. In the community, you don't want those types of. You don't want them everywhere. They just don't look good, especially if they're squares. It's just not. It's not the beautification we're looking for in the community.
Is there a way you could look into possibly doing a retention pond under the parking so you could maximize more green area?
I'll have an answer for you the next time we come in, because I agree with you. We've done it in a couple areas as far as different projects I've worked on.
All right. The concept itself looks good to me. We working out the parking situation is going to be a major issue. Are there any people from the public that wish to address this? Seeing none, we do thank you for coming. We thank you for presenting the conceptual plan. And working out the parking situation will be huge.
And I appreciate all the comments, and I promise you that we'll take those comments and implement them as we do the plan, because it is important to us. It's a partnership, and the university, as you can tell, is really believes strongly in that partnership. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Just don't hire her son to.
I don't know. I think the idea with the cart might be a darn good one.
Money.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Redevelopment projects updates.
Well, if you go to the next one. The Salvation Army has announced that we have a second Midtown Streets team. This was awarded at the last meeting that we had for the streets teams. This is another grant that they received, and they added another street team to the Midtown redevelopment area. So you should see 2 streets teams cleaning Midtown at no cost to the city. These are grants that they received to do this. So I was happy to hear that, and I know Reed didn't know that. I don't think he did. He was on vacation, but this is something that a surprise to him. I didn't mention to you today either. I wanted it to be brought up. So.
I like surprises. Thanks, Charles.
Okay. The next slide, please.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
About the street teams? How many members are on each street team?
It depends. I think most of them are 5, but a lot of times they go out in different increments because the work schedule. They are required to have jobs, And so you might see 5, you might see 4,
Gotcha.
depending on
Thank
the
you.
work schedule that they have. So, but they're active. You'll see them. I've seen them all over Midtown, especially on South MLK. So they're out there and they're working. So they're.
Clarification.
Yes.
Could these teams be used to help some of the elderly folks in the neighborhood who really don't have the ability to take care of their properties? You know, we have quite a number of them, pieces of property that is not in compliance. And I know that they normally do just the streets area, but, you know, what about more in some of these folks' yards?
That I would have to check on because it could be a liability issue with the Salvation Army because they are the one that have the bonding and insurance and everything. I know we tried to work them in with Public Works to utilize for using some of the equipment. That was an issue not only with the Salvation Army but also with Public Works. But I will contact them and see if that can be something that we can look at. Okay. Next slide, please. I wanted to make the board and community aware of the 139th birthday celebration of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. They're going to have a event on Thursday, this Thursday, at 10 a.m. At 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. and that's on Bethune-Cookman's campus at the her old residence. So I wanted to make sure that the community is involved, the board is involved. I know we have different organizations and churches that's going to be participating on program that day. So I wanted to bring that to our board members' attention. Next slide.
That's this week?
Yes, this week, this Thursday.
Excuse me.
Wanted to mention Juneteenth. I know Captain Blanchard mentioned about fights at the Juneteenth celebration. Just want the board to know that those fights were contained away from the park. They were not a part of the activities of the Juneteenth festivities. These were fights behind the Midtown Center, away from the park itself. So I just want to make sure that that was brought out, that these had nothing to do with the Juneteenth festivities. Next slide, please. I just wanted to highlight one of the board members that were recognized at the Juneteenth event, our hometown hero, Reverend Dr. Tony Bahu. Next slide, please. Go back. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, one more.
What kind of
Okay.
stock is it?
No, that
All
wasn't.
right. He hadn't seen these pictures either. I just wanted to highlight them, and I do have the pictures if you would like to have a copy of them. But we had a great banquet. We had over 385 people to attend the banquet. We had to cut it off at that. We could have sold 600 tickets as we had the space. The facility was decorated beautifully, and actually this year we recognized, I think it was 24 individuals, and we actually got out at 5 minutes after 9.
Wow.
So
Nice.
it was a great banquet. The festival was really great. The weather cooperated. It's been a long time since I've seen something like this happen, but actually it poured on Toyota across the street that day, and the sun was shining in the park. Yeah. So the good Lord was looking out for us, and it lasted until the whole event. People couldn't believe it. They was putting up stuff, and it was pouring on Toyota, and it never came across the street. So we were blessed for a beautiful day. We had a lot of kids out there. We had a lot of events going on, a lot of entertainment for the whole day. And like I say, the fights never had anything to do with the festival that we were celebrating on that day. You continue the pictures. Those karate teams that performed. The next one, please. This is a young lady that was dancing. So we had a lot of a lot of entertainment. As you can see, a lot of people was out there. We think it was over 6,000 plus people that attended the festival that day, and so it was a great event. It was successful. We look forward to continue doing things in the community like this that brought about a lot of sponsors. We had a lot of sponsors. If you had a chance to ride by on Nova Road, you could see the banners that were on the fence. There was a lot of participation this year. We had a lot of volunteers, a lot of agencies that provided services to the community, and overall it was a great event, both the festival and the banquet. Any questions I'll take, please.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any public comments at all? None? All right, we will start with our board comments. We'll begin with Mr. Ross.
I just want to say I looked at the O'Reillys. I see it's almost up and running, so that's a good thing for our community. So, yeah.
Awesome. Mr. Miller?
I want to commend Charles Bryant for the hard work he actually do in the community, and even including delivering the package to us. That's really wonderful. And I just recently remodeled a building on George Ingram Boulevard, and I decided to put a beautiful color on my building. And within 5 minutes after I started painting this building, I got 5 visits from city officials. Really. And I noticed a piece of property across the street from me. I think it's 828. I seen a fence go up that's a metal fence, but they tell me it's being replaced. They made me put up a aluminum fence. I've seen construction going on, and they told me I couldn't do any construction. So I'm really curious. Where was the permit? I haven't seen anything come before the board. I haven't seen a city permit or any of that. And I'm really curious about why I had to make such a major investment and other people don't. So I'm looking forward to getting the answer to that one.
Steve, did you have an address on that for us so that we can look that up and get an answer back to you? Or we got one? Okay.
Oh, by the way, let me add one other thing. And I didn't get any community redevelopment money for my building either. It came out of my pocket.
Wonderful.
We're proud of you. You did a good job. Thank you, Mr. Schwartz.
No comment.
Mr. Apostle Barhu?
No, again, I was very honored at the Juneteenth, and I do thank all those that were involved. It was a wonderful, wonderful event, Mr. Bryant, and all the one that participated and took photos. That was really, really surprising. Thank you. I just appreciate all of you, and thank you for allowing me to serve.
All right. Pastor Fuqua?
I just noticed, just riding around in the Midtown area, and I could see progress. I noticed the old eyesore on International Speedway. I see some progress there. They have the machines there to start the redevelopment of the old Lincoln Mercury building.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I just see great things happening. And I was driving up and down International Speedway today, just looking at the right and the left. I just see progress. Oh, and also Orange Avenue. Mm-hmm. I was at the groundbreaking ceremony and driving up and down Orange Avenue, and we are really grateful that the money came forward, and they're getting ready to start, on Orange Avenue down by Nova Road and headed east.
It looks good.
Okay.
Dr. Jameson?
Have a great evening and the rest of the week. Enjoy it.
Ms. Ford?
Just want to say thank you to Mr. Today has just been a day. Thank you, Mr. Bryant, for the Juneteenth events. They were great. I did attend the banquet, and congratulations, Pastor Bahu. My sister was one of the honorees as well. So it was a great event, and then I spent a lot of time out to the park on that Saturday. So it was interesting about the little storm across the street, and we stayed dry. But I do want to talk about one thing we discussed about the youth and the community. I really am interested because that's my area, and our youth is what we depend on. So I will not let that drop. I will be a part of that board because, like I said before, I work with the most challenging population in Volusia County schools. The kids with the most discipline records, they have arrest records. That's the population in which I serve in Volusia County schools. So I see and know a lot of the things that go on. And if we can't get them involved, crime is going to happen. So I'm really excited, and hopefully we will not, like you say, just talk. We need to show action.
That's good. Ms. Hurd.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to say that I'm so sorry I missed the Juneteenth banquet, and I did get back in town approximately 1 hour before they closed down. But I did do my job before I left, Pastor Bahu, and they have also assigned me another task for next year too. So I'll be doing that. I would like to also say that I am very enthusiastic about the activities for the students, and I guess that is my heart also, and especially the hardcore kids that I love to work with. Looking forward to working with them. I'm looking forward to continuing a girls group, and that is Girls Innovative Realistic Learning Skills that I develop at the school. So I am ready to work, not just talk, but I'm ready to work. Thank you. Have a great weekend. I'll be leaving tomorrow for the Bethune-Cookman Alumni Convention. And I'm sorry I did not tell my Rattler friend over there in time, so she could have gone with me. But enjoy the birthday and be safe.
Where's the convention?
Big partner?
Where it going to be?
D.C. across from in Crystal City.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you all, and I really appreciate Dr. Jameson taking the lead on quite a few things that we're trying to get done, including writing the letter. That really is big.
Can I get the minutes early? Could you let me know when they're ready?
Yeah, and one of the reasons I say that is because we do need to start effecting some change. And one of the only ways to affect change is for somebody to go and do it. I thank all of you. We want to make sure that we stay on top of this, because a lot of times we'll come up with some ideas, but we never follow through. So please, ma'am, please, sir, let's stay on top of this and make this a reality. Please get in touch with Mr. Bryant about a time that we can have the neighborhood cleanup, and he'll coordinate everything so that we can all get together, and give him several different dates that you can do that, because that way it can be coordinated with everyone. Anyone that does know any organization or church or group that you think would be willing to help with this, please get that information into us, and I'll contact them myself to see about trying to get some things going so that we can see a change in our community. I want to thank all of our staff for doing a wonderful job. We want to welcome Mr. Berger back. He looks so much more relaxed. And I want to also say that we are so glad that we have an alternate that is right on top of things. Mr. Schwartz, we thank you. We thank you. You've done a marvelous job. Young lady, we thank you for being here.
What's her name?
What's your name? Jessica Dixon is her name. And all of our AV department, thank you all. You did a beautiful job. I know we don't stay on the mic like you want us to, but you did a good job. And with that, our meeting is adjourned.